Welcome to the MPG Podcast, where your host John Graybeal talks racing, driving, training, and cars with Team Stradale driver Jordan Missig. And now, here's John and Jordan.
Welcome to the MPG Podcast, 16 October 2019. John Graybeal here, Jordan Missig there. Jordan, for the very first podcast, I'm in my home outside of Bloomington, Illinois, down here in central Illinois. Where are you today?
I guess this is the first for both of us because this is the first podcast I'm actually at my home in Shanahan, Illinois. So
not at the MPG studios.
House, not at the Audubon or the MPG studios. So no.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the
different location for once.
Yeah, we're really mixing it up.
Thank you, as always.
Yeah, I'm on vacation this week. This is the first. I think this is the most we got back from a race on Saturday night. I think this is the longest period this summer I've been at home and in my own bed every night. So I'm resting very well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, we're going to be on vacation here shortly here soon, I will say, I guess, for us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, race season here comes to the end here in a couple weeks. That's at the Audubon Country Club. Will your race season go on and the different things you're doing, or when does that come to a conclusion?
That's going to come to a conclusion in November for us. Will the season end? The Country Club's going to close around November 2nd. So That'll be the last race. I think there's a 3.5-hour endurance race at the Audubon that weekend. So that'll be the Country Club's last race and last day of operation and business. I think the next following day, which is November 3rd, I think is the last day. My last race will be, I believe, the weekend of November 16th to the 18th, I believe, out at Circuit of the Americas for the Blue Marble Radical Cup Series.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
That'll be our sixth and final round that weekend. Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to go down there. I'd love to go down there and watch your race, and then love to go down there and watch the F1 race. But we might do that. I don't know. We'll see how it all falls out.
Yeah, the F1 weekend just happens to fall the weekend after ours, so it works out perfectly, I guess, to be right the weekend right before we get all the travelers coming in from out of the country. They get to come see there's a 24-hour race that's happening that same weekend, and then they get to watch our Radical race, and then the following weekend after that, F1's in town, so I guess we get the good trade-off with that one.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So this past weekend, we visited last week on the podcast, and you were going to be out of town this coming up race.
I was supposed to, yes.
Which was a kart race at the Audubon Country Club. And we missed it. We were racing down in St. Louis. But you ended up somehow staying here, huh?
Somehow I ended up at the racetrack. I don't know how. Somehow I ended up staying at the racetrack. What happened was I was supposed to go down to Talladega that Friday to go down for the NASCAR race. Well, Thursday night I found myself staying at school from like 9 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night working on stuff for school. And then come to find out, I wasn't even done with all my homework. I still had 4 to 5 other assignments that I needed to get done by the end of the weekend. And I was going into Friday with that. Well, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to do now a bunch of homework assignments while I'm away from my house, away from my home, and basically on the road at a racetrack. And part of this decision was made because my parents were already down there, so they were experiencing Talladega's hospitality as of then, and come to find out the internet or Wi-Fi service wasn't good at all down there. Like, you can barely make any phone calls, barely get any text messages or anything. The internet service was apparently horrible down there. So that kind of influenced my decision because I need internet to finish up my school projects and take an exam too over the weekend. So come to find out, the schoolwork was kind of just overwhelming in the short amount of time that I had before I had to leave. So I just decided to stay home, and lo and behold, there was a kart race that weekend. So I got a perk to do that when I was staying home. So it just worked out, I guess.
Got your homework done and got to go out for the night. Shortened race day. You got to go out for the night race there. And Well, first of all, how was it racing? Was that your first kart night race?
It was the first. No, that was not my first kart night race. It was the first kart night race for the Audubon Country Club ever, as they just installed the lights this year. So it was very cool to be a part of that experience, and be very cool to see the whole atmosphere of the Audubon karting series and see how everybody, that we've known since 2016, 2017 when the kart leagues first started, and to be able to see everybody out there racing under the lights and everything, and to really see how far this country club karting league has come. It was a really special moment and really cool to see everybody be out there and participate in Audubon's first night race ever. So it was very cool to be a part of. Very happy I was able to stay home. But going back, it was not my first night race. No, my first night race was last year as part of the Ignite Challenge, actually, out at 61 Cartway. They had an all-day event last year, which practiced all day, and then as darkness fell and the lights turned on, we turned into the qualifying and the pre-finals and the final races. So all the racing happened at night. That was my first racing ever underneath the lights, and it was a very cool experience. And I kind of felt the exact same way back at the country club there. It was very cool to be a part of, and fun to be a part of, I should say. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. My son was racing down in St. Louis, and they started a half an hour late. A car threw some debris onto the track. They had to clean that up. A kid ran into a water barrier. We had to clean that up. And so we were quite a bit late. So we left, and we would have made it. So his final race was at 7:00, and we would have made it there at 7:25. So you guys would have been
just a little bit late.
That's how close we were. So we went from St. Louis, drove straight to Joliet, and we got to Bloomington, and we had to call it in Bloomington. We weren't going to make it. My family did make it there. My wife podiumed, and my daughter had her first podium. She's 12 years old, and she podiumed for the very first time, and I missed it at the kart race. So I was bummed. I was bummed at that. But I tell you what, I did watch.
You got to see it though.
I did watch. That's right. We attended the drivers' meeting via FaceTime, which was neat, and then I watched all the races. Or my son, actually, I was driving. He watched all the races via Race Monitor and would fill me in on what's going on. And so now you come out and you qualify. It was cold, right? So did you make any big changes to the kart or anything? Or you just went out there maybe a little after we talked last week, right? A little higher tire pressure maybe?
Yeah. We made about 3 changes throughout the day, I would say, as we went from practice to qualifying to the race. We made 3 changes throughout the event. Tire pressures were a little bit higher, yes, because it was a little bit colder. But then once for our first laps, we put new tires on, actually. So we put a fresh new set of Hoosier karting tires, R80s. We put a fresh set of those on our Mystic Performance Crew kart. Went out for the first session, kind of scrubbed in the tires. It was pretty slick, of course, as expected. But we were running, half a second off the pace, which, I wasn't too worried about, but I was a little bit concerned on how I was half a second off the pace. So we made some changes and made a couple of gear changes based on the weather because we were getting a headwind. So for those of you, the wind was blowing in our face down the straightaway. So it was slowing us down coming off of the corners. So the higher gear was not working. So we did make a gear change, went a little bit, made a couple adjustments with the spacers as well. And then we also made a couple adjustments with tire pressures. So now since the tire pressures and the tires were kind of heated up, they've been through a heat cycle, we kind of lowered them down a little bit to get them up to optimal temperature as the temperature and the air temperatures was kind of cooling down. The track temperature was also cooling down. So to keep the tires a little bit warmer, we brought the pressures down a little bit. So when they got up to temp, they were a little bit quicker because the track was going to have a little more grip as the night went on.
Okay. And so how'd qualifying go?
Qualifying went really well. We started out being the second one out. I caught AG Squires a little bit off guard because he was wondering when the time for qualifying was. He was wondering when are we all going out? And then next thing you know, he's still working on his kart, little behind him. I'm actually suiting up, and then as soon as he turns, I'm pushing my cart out onto the grid, and he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "It's qualifying." So I parked right behind Joe Moser, who was the other fast guy on track. So I tried to get his draft a little bit, try to push him, but then his cart he was having a very, very hard time. He was struggling to keep the handle on his cart very stable and trying to get his cart going and tires up to temp. So I went ahead and passed him to try to put in a flying lap. Well, eventually he caught up to my draft and started getting a fast lap on me. So then as soon as I saw him catching, we were coming to the end of the qualifying run. So I pulled off to the side, let him go in front of me, and I tried one last lap to get a lap in, and I ended up getting just underneath the 10th off of them. So, but AG got apparently a good enough lap to where he was actually P2. So Joe Moser got P1, AG got P2, and I got P3, and us three were all within 1/10 of each other.
Wow, that's crazy. That's just crazy. Wow.
So we made it work, and we don't know how, but it was the last lap when I got in Joe Moser's draft that was what did the trick. So apparently we all need a draft to get a good time.
Nice. So a little break through the day. It wasn't like our normal karting race schedule. So pre-final. So you qualified third. There was a pre-final, right?
There wasn't a pre-final.
There wasn't a pre-final. It was the race. It was just the final.
Yeah, it was straight to an 8-lap race because what we were doing was intertwining the rental kart sessions in between because we were a night race and it was during public hours. So they were taking all the races and trying to implement them within the 10-minute time window. So there was a race, member race for rentals and the Autobahn member series.
Okay. All right. And so one final. How did it go?
So we all got reprimanded at the beginning by Mike Ritter because none of us knew how to apparently warm up tires right. When it comes to karts, weaving back and forth is not the way to warm up tires. I will put this out. The way to do it is to kind of run as hard as you can, go through every corner because the tires are so small. It's very, very easy to build up heat. You could take maybe 2 or 3 corners to start building air pressure and heat and getting grip into the tires. And since we were given 2 pace laps, we could have done 1 full lap fast as we can and done actually a lap and a half as fast as we can, and our tires would have been perfectly fine and race ready. But a lot of us thought it was a good idea to try to weave back and forth and use up all the track, and we almost caused about 10 collisions in the pace lap itself. So
when you say we, you're not talking about yourself, are you?
Not really as the experienced one of the group. No, me personally, I used to do that, but then after running with the Margay Ignite series last year, we found out that the trick is not to just warm up your tires, it's to just go flat out as fast as you can to try to get heat in your tires and everything. But it was very hard for me to do that when everyone's kind of weaving back and forth and slowing down on you. So, but when we got back going again after Gritter taught to us, everybody went full song and everything was doing it the right way. So then I was able to get heat in the tires the proper way. So
good, yeah.
It all worked out at the
Gritter
end.
Gritter is Mike Gritter, the race director there.
Yes, and also the track manager.
So yeah, everybody got black flag, pulled in, said, "Hey, let's not do that anymore." I just my heart skips when I see guys go out there and start weaving back and forth. And I thought, oh my gosh, and I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it too. Yeah. People take other people out doing that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've actually last year was kind of a culprit for that one, but it was a situation that I will never repeat again. Let's just put it that way.
All right. So the restart, or the actual start, I should say, everybody gets back out there. And what happens when you get the green flag?
Well, we all go bonkers. Let's just say that. I'm behind Joe Moser. I'm getting him a push. Ray Martinez is behind me. So I'm starting third. Ray Martinez is fifth. AG starting second. Jensen Benet, the Iceman, is starting fourth. On the start, I start getting a push from Ray Martinez, and I push Joe Moser. My plan was to either pull out on Joe and try to go to the inside and make it 3 wide in the turn 1, or push him down a straightaway. Well, my answer was solidified when I saw Jensen try to pull out on AG Squires to try to pass him before the start-finish line. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm holding to push Joe Moser because I'm not going to make it 4 wide into turn 1. So I just decided to try to push Joe in front of AG and try to push myself in front of AG as well. And that's what happened. We went to turn 1. Joe was able to get the lead. I was able to slide in the second. AG fell in the third, and I don't know what the rest happened behind me, but I do know I was on AG's butt the entire first lap. Actually had to let off a couple times, and we were coming off the final corner. I got such a good run on him that I actually had to let off in the final corner, which killed my momentum, but I was still able to pull alongside and get a little bit ahead of him. But then Joe was able to come back, and out of nowhere, AG pulls to the inside and passes both of us.
Oh, wow.
So passed both of us, and then Joe had the run. So then he got in front of me. Then he went to the inside, and now both AG Squires and Joe Moser are nose to tail going into turn one, and they're both being very defensive. So they're both on the inside lane going into the turn. So I just said, screw it. I'm going to take my own line. So I went to the outside, and sure enough, they both slid up. I did an over-under and got them both.
So they didn't have the braking and the cornering ability, so they kind of went a little bit wide. Mm-hmm. You're on the outside of them, and this is a turn to the right. The first turn was turn to the right, so you're far on the left. They go a little deeper in the corner because of their speed, and then you just shoot kind of down underneath of them. You brake a little bit earlier, get on the gas a little bit sooner, and then you can come
get on the gas a little bit sooner, and what allows me to get a better run off the corner. And they're both, trying to keep their karts from going off track because they're sliding up to the end of the track, and I'm able to get the traction and keep the kart low enough and get a good enough run to where I clear them before we get to the switchback, which is turn 3. And then as soon as I clear them, I went to immediately inside and shut the door on them and went very defensive. And I guess Joe Moser tried to thread the needle on AG and pushed him wide, and he ended up spinning out. So Joe Moser spun, AG I guess got pushed wide, and then I was long gone. A 5.5 second lead apparently is what I heard.
So you crossed from third to started third to first, and I'm assuming you've solidified the championship.
Not quite yet. Nope.
Not quite yet. Wow. Okay.
It's out of my hands now. It's out of my hands. I did everything I can, and everything's out of my hands. As of now, I hold the championship lead, but pressure's on AG now. AG in these final 2 races needs to win both races, or else I win the championship. It's a must-win for him. If he finishes second, I technically would, I think, get the championship based on getting 3 wins the fastest. And if he finishes, less, because we would tie if he finishes 1 second and 1 win. But if he finishes second, or if he finishes like a third, I'm gonna win, based on just the points itself.
Wow, yeah. So it's going down. So you will not be at the last race.
No, I will not be at the last race. I'm gonna be out of town.
So it'll be 3 drops that you can make in this race, in the racing championship. So
correct.
Yeah, it'll be real close here.
Yeah.
Crazy weekend for my son, who was in second in the championship going into the final race. The person in third place, all he had to do was get in front of her once in one of the races, and he would have won. He would have got second barely. So really, it was a race within a race, and it happened. 10 karts out there in his division, and it happened that they both were right next to each other both races. He's in front of her,
geez.
15-lap race. He's in front of her for, a while.
Yeah.
She pulls in front of him. He clipped a kart at the very end. A guy spun out, and he just clipped the kart just a second. He had about 5 seconds on her. And she comes around him in that little clip of the kart when the driver in front of him spun out. She gets in front of him and crosses the finish line, and he was about 2-3 feet behind her, less than a kart length behind her. So okay, that's one. He's got one more race to go.
Yep.
All he's got to do is just beat her, and he would have had it just a little bit. So they're back out there again. He's in the lead. She's chasing him down. She's a little bit quicker than him. She's chasing him down. Tries to run on him several times. Into a corner, and he comes. We couldn't see it but she beats him in the corner, and he comes out in front several times. And finally, one time, she got in front of him, and again, by 3 feet. That means she got him by 3 feet. So he ended up third in the championship. But his rookie year, rookie year,
not bad.
Not bad at all. Real, very, very happy about it. But it was just crazy to think that all those kids out there. and the race within a race, and there's the two people running for second and third in a championship, right? And all of a sudden, literally are racing each other. No one else is around.
Exactly.
No one else is around.
It just happens to work out that way every way in the championship. You look at it and you look at the papers and you see, the top two in the championship are right next to each other, and then next thing you know, you look on the racetrack and they just happen to be right next to each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
crazy. It just the math and points don't lie. You're next to your opponent for a reason, and apparently it shows.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. So that's how we went. He's neck and neck in the championship here for the local championship, and it will come down to Saturday night to see who. We'll just have to see. If he wins both of them, he'll have it for sure. But we just don't know how the drops and how everything works out. If he wins one, it'll be close. If he doesn't win either ones, he'll probably get second in that. So
you can definitely say this: it's definitely a learning year, and you'll never stop learning. That's for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we're gonna miss you around the club this weekend.
It's all right. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're very excited for what we have coming up, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm not sure where I will be in the world, but we'll talk to you when you get back after next weekend. And so everybody stay tuned to...
So I will say this, though. I have been clarified to release a little bit of news of what's happening. So I could get everybody a brief moment on what's going on.
Just
for next
a tiny little
just a tiny little
tease. A tease. Just a tease.
All right. I am going to be missing Oktoberfest because I am heading down to Homestead Miami Speedway this weekend, and I am testing a LMP3 Ginetta USA car. So for those of you who don't know, it's a Le Mans prototype P3, which is the lowest prototype series that you can get in from a Le Mans series. So I'm going to be testing that for a possible ride maybe for next year. We're hoping to see, but we'll be talking more about it next week. So that's what we'll be doing this weekend.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm just grinning ear to ear. That's all I can say. Just grinning ear to ear. Well, fantastic. Best of luck. We'll keep our fingers crossed and go down there and just have a blast and show them what we know you all can do.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the support and everything, and truly appreciate what we're able to do here with this podcast and everything like that.
Well, that's just great. That's great. So, okay, that was a tease. That was a great tease, and we can't wait to hear more about it.
Perfect. I look forward to talking to you guys about it too.
Thanks, Jordan.
You're welcome, as always.